All right, it looks like we only have 4 people in right now. So like I did yesterday, I'm going to wait for about 5 or 10 minutes and make sure that no one has any problems getting in, and then we'll start. All right, well, that might be somebody now, so I'll be right back. All right, we are still at 7 people, but I'm going to start up anyway. The first thing I want to tell you all is yesterday I had problems getting mine to run where most of yours ran. And I know 1 or 2 people still had a problem with theirs. I did not have this line on my tennis ball sprite. The point in direction 135. Once I put that line in, it's under the when clicked, and you can see where it is. It now appears to work just fine. Well, try it again. There we go. And I've still got it set up. I think you only need to get 1 to win. All right. But you'll notice that again, that works. So the you win works. And if I don't try to play at all, the game over works. So the game is now operational. So what I want to do is I do want to go back to here on mine and go to my you win and set it back so that the score is got to be 28 for you to win. And I'm going to do a file save now. And now that one is totally working. So if you do want that one, that's fine. And if you don't want that one, it's also fine. All right. Okay. So the other thing is I got asked yesterday about a timer. So I put one in, but it's a really, really simple one because I want to make sure everybody could understand it and that it worked, etc. So let me move this down, move this over, and move this over. All right, so to make this timer, which I put right here, is not a really good place for it because it's always possible. I don't know if it could get in the sprite's way or not, but what I did was I created a brand new variable called timer. All right, so I went into my variables and you can see there's a variable called timer, and I did want it to show. I just dragged it over here in the bottom corner. All right, so again, we can drag it anywhere we want, but really, and at any point, it could conceivably be in the way. So I can put it there, for example. And what I did then with this timer variable is I created a block called init and start timer right here. So when that happened, I set the timer to 0. And then in a forever loop, I said to wait 1 second and then change the timer by 1. So it's just going to go 1, 2, 3. Now it would take a little bit of work, but we could have set it up for minutes and seconds, etc. I did not do that. All right. I just tried to keep it pretty simple. So then in here, what I added was when you start the game, I added an init and start timer. So I called it to start the timer. And whenever you get through a maze, I also called init and start timer. So you will notice that when I run this now, there's the timer. It starts up right away. And again, it's by no means is this fantastic, but it's functional and it works. So again, for the person who had asked yesterday about that, I'll leave that up for just a second. So if you're interested, you can copy it or whatever. And if you're not, well, again, we're going to get going in just a matter of seconds. All right, we're up to 8. So now that that's done, the next thing that I did, so let me close this, and I want you guys all to do this as well. And that is, give me a second here. We bring up a couple things here. Oh, that isn't good. Maybe because I left the slash off. There we go. Uh-oh. Try that again. Oh, okay. I didn't put all of it in. There we go. There's one. And there's the other one. Okay. So this is our working brick breaker game from yesterday. All right. First, let me ask, can you hear me okay out there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. So what I'd like you to do, I've already done it, but what I'd like you to do is with your brick breaker game, if you haven't already done it, all right, with the game up like this, do a file and do a save as a copy, because we're going to do the two-person player or the two-player game now, but we want to keep our one-player game separate. So we'll have a copy that's a two-player and a copy that's a one-player. Now I'm going to go over this, and believe me, I'm going to go nice and slow. And if we finish by 10, great. And if it takes till closer to 11, that's also fine. Then what I'm going to do is I've written another program that I want you to do, but I'm going to ask you to try to do it yourselves. It's not a real difficult program. It's not a real easy program. All right. But I'm going to show you what I want in just a couple minutes. So I'm taking for granted you did a file save as a copy. And I gave mine the same name, except I called it V2. So that's the name of mine. I am Jeffrey P. I'm a Jeffrey P. Well, that's good. I'm a Jeffrey P. Brick Breaker V2. All right. So it's out there. And as we get going, I'll keep working on mine. Okay. And like I said, if you have any kind of problems as we're going through this, please let me know. All right. So right now, the only thing that we had in here for the actual paddle, you hopefully remember that from yesterday, was this. Okay. That's the only thing we had for the paddle. And I'm going to add a little bit more now. A lot of it won't make a lot of sense. Okay. But what I want to do is we're going to be adding sounds and special effects and some other stuff. And what we want to do is when we receive a message that says either stop the game, and you'll know what that is in a minute, or show game over, okay, we will want to stop every script that's running in the sprite. So if that confused you, let me just show you what I mean. I'm assuming you've got that code already, and I'm going to just move that up a little bit. And I'm going to go over to my events, and I'm going to find the when I receive event right there. All right. And I'm going to put a new message in here. Well, I can do the show game over first. That's fine. So when I receive the show game over, what I want to do, and I've got to find it because, again, I don't have the coloring in here. I want to do a stop, but I want to stop all other scripts in Sprite. So this is what I put in. Again, because we're going to have sound and all sorts of other stuff. So when the game's over, I want all that stuff to stop. And I'm going to add one more of these. Okay, I'm going to add one more of these. And again, I could do it all over, or I could just right mouse click and choose duplicate. And that's what I'm going to do. All right, for this one, this is going to be something that doesn't currently exist. So I'm going to do a new message, and I'm going to just say stop game. Okay. So what I just added, we already had this stuff in there, the when clicked, but I added these two things right here. I added both of these to my paddle. So the other stuff, I don't think anything in there changes. But I am going to check because I have a little bit of my code here. So let me check real quick. Style forever. Put 10 seconds, 140. Okay, and I am going to add something else because we're going to start adding sound. Now, my question is, does everybody have this?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
I'm going to move these two down, and I'm going to put another block in here. The first thing I'm going to do before I do this is I want a sound that I can put in. So every time that I hit the tennis ball, basically, I'm going to want to play the sound, in other words. Now, so you know how to do this. I'm going to go over to sounds, and I'm going to go down to here, and there's a lot we can choose from. Some of them wouldn't make any sense. I mean, I wouldn't want probably a saxophone when I'm doing that. But what the one I liked was called Ping Pong Hit. And it sounds like this. So I'm going to add that. So I now have it. It's very short. It literally lasts for a second or so, but I now have Ping Pong Hit. And if you want to do this, great. If you want to add a different sound, if you want to bring in your own sound, as always, that's totally up to you. All right. But I'm going to go back to my paddle now. And then in my code, I'm going to add some more code right here. Now I've got the when I receive game, show game over, and when I receive stop game, I'm going to have one more when I receive in here. And again, it's something I haven't written yet. All right. But it is when I want it, it's when it bounces. So you'll know what I mean in just a second if I confused you. All right. So I'm going to put an if then statement in here, not an if then else, but an if then right here. I'm going to move these down a little bit here because otherwise they're just going to get in the way. All right. So I added nothing here. Here I added the new when I receive show game over, stop other scripts in Sprite. And here I added when I receive a stop game, stop other scripts in Sprite. So now I'm in here, and this is what I'm going to do when I receive a bounce. So what I'm going to check here is I'm going to come over to my operators, and I'm going to find the one that's got a less than right there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to check my distance. The distance to the tennis ball. And if it's less than 60, if this doesn't make any sense, give me just a second, because I think it will in a second. Then I'm going to tell it to play the sound until done. Play what sound? The ping pong. All right. Oh, and I'm sorry. I did an if else, even though I told you not to do an if else. Let me get rid of that. It should be just an if then. That was my error. Okay, so we'll do it all over again. If, and again, that distance to, all right, I want to do a less than in here. That was my fault again. I apologize. So if the distance to the tennis ball is less than 60, I want to play right here that ping pong sound. Play sound ping pong hit until done. All right. That'll make the sound, and that's great. That's good. That's one thing I want to do. But then I'm going to want to change color. And if you don't know what I mean, you're going to learn right now. All right. So there's a bunch of changes in here. That's all for sound, change pitch, etc. But if I go into, I think it's looks, there's a change size, and there's a change color effect. And I'm going to just change it by 25, like it says right there. All right. Now, good time to do a file save now. I'm going to come right back to it. But what I want you to do is I want you to see the game again. So hopefully what you see here is every time I'm hitting it, what's happening? Well, you are hearing it when it hits the brick, it's making a ping pong-like sound, and the paddle itself is changing color. And again, all I'm doing here is I'm adding some special effects. We don't have to do this. The program worked fine as it was, but we're making it just a little bit, hopefully at least, more enjoyable for the person who's playing the game. All right. So that's what I've got to do with the paddle. And I'll go right back to that just to make sure that everybody has got that code in there. So again, we're going to add a little more code and we're going to test it. We're going to add a little more code and we're going to test it. And I'm just checking my email, and no, I'm getting some emails, but no, it's not. It's not from people who can't get in. So my hope is that everybody who's here is here. I see we're up to 10, but I'm hoping that, because we have got a couple more yesterday, that they're going to be coming shortly. Now, does everybody have all of the code? So in other words, this and this and this. Does everyone have all of that code for the paddle?
Yes. Yes.
Anybody who's still putting it in? All right, so I didn't hear anybody say they were, so I'm going to go back. Somebody is still putting it in? Is somebody still putting in the code?
One.
Okay, well, then I'm just going to take for granted that we've all got it in, so we're going to move to the tennis ball. All right, so I'm moving to the tennis ball, and the first thing I'm going to do is up at the top, I'm going to add another one of these things very similar to what I just did, and that is I'm going to go to events, and I'm going to add one of these when I receive events. And when I receive a stop game event, I'm going to stop other scripts in Sprite. So I just added this right here to the tennis ball sprite. All right, just 2 lines. So I hope everybody was able to get that in quickly. So we've got this when clicked forever, if position less than, so that broadcast. I'm just trying to see where I know I added more code, but I want to see where I did. And we've got the when I receive bounce. All right. That's all, none of that's new. Okay, that's good. And we've got our when clicked. This is all from yesterday, so none of this here is new, but I'm just double checking to make sure I didn't add any code there. Steps, so I don't see any that I've added there. I'm going to double check this. But when I receive bounce, 180, repeat tilt. No, that looks the same. All right. And forever, why then? That looks the same. So as far as I know, okay, as far as I know, I have not added any more code to the tennis ball. All right, so as we're making our way through this, the next thing, as you can see, is the brick. So I'm going over to the brick now. And we've got our, when clicked, set our size, go to XY, hide 4:7. Create clone of myself, change this, do this, nothing new there. We've got our code that we put in yesterday. When I start as a clone, show forever. All right. Now we're going to do something here. So please make sure you've got your brick up and find your section that says when I start as a clone. All right. Before, well, we're going to make some changes in here. Okay. So I'm looking, boy, I made a lot of changes. I didn't think we made that many, but we're going to take this forever loop and we're going to drag it down because we're going to put some more code in here. So I'm in the brick. I'm in the brick and I went down by that forever loop and I'm just dragging it down because after my show, I want to put some more code in here. All right. And the first code that I want to put in here is I want to set, but what I want to set in here is what's called a ghost effect. And we're going to set that ghost effect to 100. And that's going to give us some like fade in, fade out type of stuff. All right. And after we do that, we're going to go and we're going to change. I want to change Y. Thought that was in our set. Sorry about that. Let's see.
It's in the motion.
Thank you. Yeah, we want to change Y by -10. All right. And again, this will make more sense when we run it in just a minute. Then we're going to put one of these repeat loops in. A repeat 10. All right. Just got 2 or 3 more lines to add here. And we're going to again come in. There we had a set ghost effect. There should also be a change ghost effect. We're going to change that by -10. And then we're going to change Y by 1. You said that was in motion, and I think you're right. And after we do that, we're going to put that forever loop back in here like this. So what's new is everything from set ghost effect to 100 is new. Change Y by -10 is new. And this repeat loop here is new. Now, I don't want that forever in the repeat loop, but unfortunately I put it in there. I want it like this. Because what I'm saying is I want this stuff to happen 10 times, not forever. So I'm gonna go through and show all the code one more time. Yours should say at the top, when I start as a clone, then it should say show. That's a purple one. Then another purple one. Set ghost effect to 100. Change Y by -10. Then you've got a repeat loop, which says repeat 10. Change ghost effect by -10. Change Y by 1. Now I'm going to give you a minute to put that in there because that was a lot to throw at you. So I'll give you, it's 9:32. I'll give you till 9:35 or 6, and then I'll ask if everyone's done. Again, make sure you do not put your forever loop inside of this repeat. Otherwise, I don't know what it's going to do, but it's going to be really goofy. All right, does everybody have that code in? Is there anybody who's still putting it in? All right, then I'm going to continue on, okay? I'm going to go down into the forever loop, and I am going to add a little bit of code in here, okay? Now, the sound that we put in before is when the ball hits the paddle. I want to also put in a sound when the ball hits a brick, but I want it to be one of two different sounds, so there's a little variety in it. So I'm going to go over to sounds again, and I'm going to find in here laser. Well, not there. I got to search for it. So in here, I'm going to search for laser. And you'll notice there's a laser 1 that sounds like this, and a laser 2 that sounds like this. I'm going to bring them both in. So there's my laser 1. And then I'm going to go back again, and I'm going to bring in laser 2. So now I've got them both. Again, there's laser 1. There's laser 2. So what I want is sometimes when the ball hits the brick, I want it to make this sound. And sometimes I'll want it to make that sound. Now you can pick any sounds you want, or you can have it use the same sound all the time, or not have it have any sounds at all. That's totally up to you. All right. But what I want to do in here, I want to change the score and I want to broadcast the bounce. But before I come in and do this, delete this clone that's right here, I want to add a little bit of code. All right, so for right now, I'm just going to grab this, delete this clone. I'm going to pull it down there just for now. But after the broadcast bounce, I'm going to add an if then else. I'm going to add an if then else and tell it to play either the laser 1 sound or to play the laser 2 sound. So I'm going over to control here and I'm finding an if then else and I'm putting it right under, I'm notching it onto that broadcast. And I'm going to tell it to pick a random number between 1 and 2. Okay. And if it's a 1, I'll play laser 1. If it's a 2, I'll play laser 2. That's all we're doing. All right. So I need to come in here and I need to find my equal condition, which is here. All right. Then I need to do a pick random. So I only want to go from 1 to 2. And if it's a 1, I want to just start the sound, not play the sound. And it's just started is fine, which is me just go boop like that, basically. So I'm going to say start sound, laser 1. Else, I'm going to tell it to start sound, laser 2. So that's all I'm doing right there is I'm telling it basically to play one sound or play the other sound. That's it. All right. Now we're almost done with this, but not quite. Let me ask first. Has everybody had a chance to put in all this code?
Yes.
Is there anybody who's still putting in the code, the new code that I just gave you? All right. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put in another one of these repeat loops and it'll be a repeat 10. And I don't want it with the else. All right. I want it underneath that else. So make sure you drag it down here. So it's underneath that else. All right. And there's about 3 lines we're going to want to put in here. And then we'll add back our delete here. In fact, I think that'll go here. There. All right. And we'll know real quick whether or not this works because we're going to test it in just a minute. So in this repeat, all right, we're going to go over to motion. We're going to go over the motion. We're going to tell it to turn. Turn 6 degrees. And then, as we did before, come in and we're going to change our ghost effect. We're going to change that by 10. And finally, we're going to change the size because we're going to make this thing shrink because we just have gotten a brick. So we're basically making it fade away, for lack of better words. So we're going to change its size by -10. And that should be everything. Now, I may have goofed up the positioning, but we'll find out real quickly. My question is anybody still putting in this code? I'm not hearing anything, so I'm taking for granted that it's there. So I'm going to do one more file, save now, and I'm going to run it. We're not done, but we're darn close. So listen now what happens when it hits a brick. Watch the brick. Hopefully you saw that. The brick was getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and you heard that, you heard those sounds as well. So like I said, we're not done, but we're almost done. All right. Now we actually want to make a bunch of changes to the game over and to the you win. And once we do that, we're going to be done. All right, so let's go to game over first. And you know what code is there right now? These two things. That's all that's under the game over right now. We've got the when clicked hide. And we've got the when I receive show game over. But we're going to put some more stuff in the when show game over comes. We're going to put some stuff in here right now. So I'm going to move. We don't need this one to even be showing anymore. So I'm moving that one up, but we're going to put code in here. So when I receive show game over, before I do a sound, I'm sorry, before I do a show, I'm going to bring in another sound. All right. So I'm going to go down to here. And again, you can pick any sound you want. I brought in space ripple, this one. That one.
That would be a good last hit effect.
I mean, there are other sounds. You can even load other sounds, I believe, but that's the one I'm going to use. So you guys grab any one you want, of course, and we're going to come here and I'm going to say to start sound, space ripple, then my show, then my show. Now that stop all, move that out of the way because we're going to put some more code in here. All right, so I'm going to move this up a little. So this is everything in our show game over. First thing we want to do. A couple of you have got you're not muted and you got a lot of background noise. It's just so you know, it's making it hard for other people to hear. All right, so we want to broadcast the stop game because we're done, but we're going to put a little bit of more animation in here. So we're going to put another repeat in and we'll have it repeat. You can do it as many times as you want. I chose 15 here. And there will be 1, 2, 3, 4 more lines. And then on the bottom of the repeat, we'll put our stop all back in there. So I'm going to put 4 lines in here and then we're done with the game over. And what are those lines? Well, again, I'm going to come down to here. And I want to set my color effect to 100. All right. And after that, I want to put a weight in, and it's going to look really kind of weird with what I'm telling you to do, but it'll make sense in a second. We're going to tell it to wait, but when you tell it to wait, you don't have to put a whole number in here. We're going to put in 0.1, and that's going to cause our color to flash. And this sorry game over message hopefully is going to flash in just a minute. All right. Then after we do that, I'm going to copy this or duplicate this code. So we're going to set the color effect to 100, wait a second, then set it to 0, and wait another second like that. Then put in our stop all. Anybody have any questions on that? Has everybody had the chance to put that in? So again, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do a file, save all, or save now, and let's run it. And I'm going to immediately lose on purpose so you can see the effect. You see it right there. Now, if you don't like that, the way I've done it, I probably should move this down a little bit more. It would probably look a little nicer, at least on mine. All right. If I grab this, you know, the sorry game over, if I grabbed it, and right now it is at 36:28, it looks like. All right. And if I moved it down, so I clicked it, moved it down at least a little bit there like that, that probably would make it look nicer. Let's see. Still is close. It's right now, you know, it still is. I could make the bricks disappear if I wanted to. You know, if we wanted to do that, we could make the ball disappear if we wanted to do that. But this isn't bad, right? I think at least it's not too bad. All right. Okay. So the next thing we want to change is the you win. All right. So I'm going to make sure the run is stopped. It is. And we've now made changes to the paddle, to the tennis ball, to the brick, to the game over, and what's left is the you win. Okay. And right now the you win has this. When clicked, set score to 0, hide, wait until the score is equal to 28, show, and we're going to grab this stop all for now, and we're just going to move it off to the side because we're going to add some more stuff. All right. So the first thing we want to do, the game's over. So we're going to go and we're going to broadcast a stop game. All right. Next, let's bring some sound in because they just won. So let's go and add, and again, I'm going to add the goal cheer. This one. All right. And the whole thing sounds like this. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to
We can't
do.
hear your screen.
Pardon me?
We cannot hear your screen.
Oh, and it's turned up all the way. There's not much I can do about it. All right. So after the show, we got a broadcast stop game. Now we're going to start sound cheer or goal cheer. All right. And we'll put again, we'll come in here and we will put in a little bit of animation. All right. So I'm going to add a repeat 15 right here. And you've seen this kind of thing before. I'm going to set the color effect to 100. And then I'm going to wait for 1/10 of a second. and then I'm going to do it again, but set it to 0. So it's 100, wait a tenth of a second. It's 0, wait a tenth of a second. And then at the very bottom, put in my stop all. All right. Now, I'm not good enough that I can play this game and get all 28 bricks down. So I'm just going to change it back to 1 for a second while I test this. And I'm going to take my you win message, all right, which currently is not showing. And I'm going to make it about, try to move it down. So it's about where the other one is. All right. And let's see what that looks like now. File, save now, and we'll run it. All right. So now we pretty much have added everything in here. Now I'm missing one thing, and unfortunately, let me look for a second, because what I wanted to add in here that I do not have right now, and I'm gonna look through my notes. So we're gonna take a break in a second, but when we come back, we're just about finished. All right. But what I want to do, what I would like to do is when you run this, when the ball is moving after you hit it, I would like the ball to have like a shadow effect, so you can see the ball bouncing. And I've got it in the final version, but I didn't print out that piece of code. So
Like a shadow drag effect where it has like trails.
it's pretty much like that, yes. But what I did instead was I literally just created a new sprite that's going to follow this one. All right. So I've got 9:52. Let's take a break, please, and we're going to come back at 10:02. We'll finish this up, and then I've got something for you to try. All right. So let's come back, please, at 10:02. Thanks.